Well, my mother fixed this little book up, photo album up for me before she died. This was the school that I went to in our little town. I think we had 24 kids in one class. There's my teacher. Thought I'd just show you this so I have something to look at besides same old yard every morning. I remember those days, that old school. Real high ceiling, real big windows, no air conditioning. There's me, second to the back there. Well, anyway, just thought I'd show it this morning while I tell some, while I talk about some things that I remember from my little town. Don't know what they mean. I just thought I'd tell you some little things that happened to me one time. I was down at the gas station in my little town down here. Gas was 19 cents a gallon. For $1, you get 5 gallons of gas back then at this time. Anyway, there was a man in there, and he was leaning over his battery. He was getting gas, but he was looking at his battery, and he leaned over it, and he was looking at it, had his face down there next to it, you know. I don't know what he was doing with battery cables or what, but anyway, the battery exploded right in his face. He was blinded. He looked up at me, and his eyes was like, you know, I thought he was, you know, it was bad. He could not see. Well, I put him in my car, carried him down to the emergency room, talked to him the whole way. He never saw me. He never saw me. This was it was a black man, yeah. It was a black man, as I remember it. But he never saw me. But anyway, I carried him on it down to the emergency room, left him there, and forgot all about it, you know. Well, yeah, several years later, I see this man. He's walking around. He can see. He never saw me, and I said, "Oh, I'm the one that." I said, "Well, I can see you got your sight back." And he said, "Yeah, I recognize your voice." I thought that was good. But anyway, later on down the road, I saw him, and he got his sight back. You know, they washed him out that night, and he was able to regain his sight. He said he couldn't see for a while there, though. It took a while to get it back, but he was able to see. Let's see, what's another little thing that happened to me? Oh yeah, this is the Etowah Indian Mounds on a class trip we took. I'm on top of the big mound and taking a picture down on a smaller mound. And that behind it is a river that went by. This Indians that lived along this river way back before Columbus got here. Supposedly, you know, got here. Who knows what our past is? You know, who knows? who wrote the history books. And on that class trip, we went to Kennesaw Mountain. There's my mother. I must be dressed up, getting ready to go somewhere. Probably some kind of prom or something. But anyway, wonderful lady. Wonderful lady. I'll tell you something about her. When we got married, our second child, my wife was pregnant with her second child. And we had moved to into town. This trailer we have right here that we're in right now. 40, I don't know how many years. 50 years later, I don't know. 40-something years later. And they wouldn't. It was the 4th of July, and they couldn't. They was fixing to take a break, and they weren't going to come out during the 4th to put our power on because we had moved out here and pulled this trailer out here and on this land that my wife's family had bought, and for us to put the trailer on. And anyway, they wouldn't cut the power on for 4th of July. You know, it was going to be the whole week, probably, or several days and weekend before they would cut the power on. It was burning up hot. And I went in to ask them to cut it on. You know, they says, no, they're going home. They're too late. It's too late. We can't do it. And so I come back to the car. I said, well, we're going to have to wait till after the 4th of July. And I said, would you? And my mama gets out of the car. That was enough for me. They said no, you know, the lady at the desk said no. So she goes in and walks past the lady. Where's where's your supervisor or the head man? And it was like, she said, well, you can't go back there. You know, it's also, you know, she was trying to stop her. And she just kind of real smiled, you know, and didn't, she just smiled and used her powers of persuasion and walked back there and greeted the head man at the power company. And it wasn't 15 minutes later, there was somebody out there turning the power on for our trailer. So we had air conditioning over the 4th of July. But anyway, that's what she was like. She was very persuasive, you know. But anyway, that's our old grammar school, 7th grade, getting ready to go up to the high school. Small town, USA. Yeah, that guitar. Our music shop didn't have a decent guitar in the whole town. That thing would cut your fingers to pieces, and you couldn't. The strings were way off of the fretboard, so they didn't have. I never knew what a good guitar was until I got grown. Well, one more true story before I have to go freshen up my coffee. That's my dad. He one time we were at our house. I think it was Friday, Saturday night. They come a knocking on the door, and he goes to the door, and there's this black man there, and he says, "I can never forget it." He was real polite. The black man. He was talking with him. He said, "Will you take me to the hospital down here?" And He said something like, what is it, He turns around, and he had he'd been stabbed in the back, a real bad cut, knife cut, bleeding. Well, we had just got a pretty good new car with brand new seat covers. But he manages to get him in there and get him down to the hospital, which was instead of he in our car, because he might have bled out. Just wanted to tell you some true stories, that happened. That's my dad right there. He lived to be 95. A tough life. Well, right at 95. A very, very tough life. Through the Depression. He basically raised himself. He had 2 sisters that his mother kept, but he basically raised himself, Anyway, I don't want to get into too much of that. A good man. Never found out about all the truth that we know about today. Nevertheless, was a child of grace. Anyway, just wanted to go through this album this morning. Throw a few pictures up so you might be tired of watching the yard there. I was watching this video. I didn't want to I didn't want to do a video like of Cursing the Darkness. Again, this morning, I saw this preacher online. He was holding up a flaming fires, and he was striving with these, this gay pride parade, But the whole thing was he was striving, and he was there with another gospel, and they just made mincemeat out of him, asking him questions and things like that. And she was asking him questions. People were asking him questions. What about the pluck your eye out verse? What about, and he said, then he said this, he used the scripture where it says you speak out of your mouth one error after another. He says, I didn't say that, God said that. And I wanted to say, yeah, well, you did say that. You just thought that was what God was saying. People that think that they have they know what a text is saying. Anyway, he just made a big mess out of it, in my view. All it did was strive, didn't convince anybody anything. What it was he thought his little sin was better than their big sin, whatever it was they were doing, the gay pride thing. He thought his little sin was more was better than it's self-pride. One of them pinned him down. He said, do you sin? He says, yeah, I sin, but I confess it every time I do it. But well, he admitted that he sinned, but he didn't have an understanding of God. But I believe this one was actually. I don't believe he was like a poser like some of these that you see out on the street. They're actually working for the other side. I believe he was legitimately deceived didn't know about the true gospel, and he was out there on the street corner striving. A servant of the Lord must not strive. Brothers and sisters, that's why I like this internet so good. Nobody's going to interrupt you, except maybe in the comment section, or punch you in the nose if they don't like your message. Anyway, thought I'd just come here for a few minutes and show you my life down here in Alabama. Peace and love, brothers and sisters.